Hi everyone, this is Chaplain Burson, and this week's thought is about connection. This week is the anniversary of two different events that you might not immediately recognize are related, but they're actually intimately intertwined. March 3rd, 1886 is the anniversary of when Helen Keller met the miracle worker, Anne Sullivan, who opened her world to communicate with others. 10 years earlier, on March 7th, 1876, Alexander Graham Bell received the patent for the telephone and opened up communication to the world that wasn't limited by distance. Inventing the telephone made Bell famous, but his reputation as an advocate for the deaf was also well known. This was a personal passion for him, as Bell's wife and mother were both hearing impaired. In fact, it was his lifelong study of voice and human speech for the deaf that led him to invent the telephone. Having heard of his genius and his compassion, Captain Arthur Keller traveled from Alabama with his 6-year-old daughter Helen, who had been deaf and blind since she was 18 months old, so that he could meet Bell and ask for help. Keller said that she loved Bell almost immediately when she met him, and the two began a lifelong friendship that included writing many letters to each other on a Braille typewriter. Bell introduced Keller to Anne Sullivan, which changed her life. He also continued to support Keller both personally and financially up until he died. When Helen Keller wrote her first autobiography, The Story of My Life, she dedicated it to Alexander Graham Bell, who has taught the deaf to speak and enabled the listening ear to hear speech from the Atlantic to the Rockies. In working with the hearing impaired and by inventing the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell broke down barriers of isolation between people around the world, helping them be more connected. It's hard for us to imagine how lonely it must have been for Helen Keller to have no connection with anyone else. She became so unruly as a child in her dark and silent world that many people suggested that her parents should institutionalize her. But as her world was opened up to others, she thrived, graduating from college and becoming an author and an activist. I hope this week, as we are reminded of the story of Alexander Graham Bell and Helen Keller, that we don't forget what a precious and fragile gift communication and connection are, and how powerful connection can be for pulling us out of the dark and lonely places to help us thrive. When you or other people in your life are difficult or unruly the way Helen Keller was, it may be due to starving for connection. As Helen Keller once said, walking with a friend in the dark is better than walking alone in the light. Blessings this week.